What is happening, everybody? Mattmade here, and I played a game called FictionSphere. FictionSphere is a really interesting platformer in which you can do both physical and ranged attacks to defeat your enemies. Currently, it's in early access and has a demo on gamejolt. In the game, the main character doesn't have a name, so I stuck to calling him, the edgelord, because he looks straight out of some Yu-Gi-Oh! Or other card anime game. When I first saw him, I thought he was gonna go,
"It's time to do."
His design is a bit funny and I found it a bit odd, but once you got past the dialogue section, you jump right into the game and it's pretty interesting. The gameplay of FictionSphere is a blast. The controls are responsive, the attacks look and feel impactful, and the speed and mobility of the game is really nice. You have access to a wall jump as well as a single wall hop. This allows you to get a bit of extra height if you miss a jump or get hit and fall off a ledge. Everything feels nice and tight in this game. The movement of the game reminds me of Mega Man, while altering a few things in order to make something different and unique. There's also an evade that can be done either on the ground or in the air. This allows you to maneuver around enemies or make longer jumps to reach areas that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Hopefully in the full release they do make use of this mechanic and they put secret areas for extra power-ups or health items or something in there. While there are a few control issues, such as not being able to turn as quickly as I'd like after evading, the overall movement is pretty good for the game while considering it's only a demo. However, I do highly suggest that you play with a controller. It makes the game a lot easier and a lot more intuitive. You can change your button layouts on both keyboard and controller. However, changing around a few times, I must say that the controller is the way to play. With a bit more polish and tightening, the controls could be near perfect for this game. As for the fight mechanics, the important part of the game, you have 3 attack buttons, one for melee attacks, one for ranged attacks, and one for skill attacks. Your melee attacks do a decent amount of damage and they can chain together for 2 or 3 hits. During any hit, you can also chain together a skill attack to not only add style, but to do a bit more damage. Using skill attacks does drain some of the stamina bar that's underneath your health, and to replenish it, you will either need to use standard attacks or defeat an enemy. Also, the evade does drain that as well, but to refill it, all you have to really do is defeat enemies or do normal attacks. Also, depending on how many normal attacks you use before using a skill, it'll allow you to use different skill attacks. For instance, if you hit attack twice and then a skill, you'll do a different move than if you did one standard attack and then use the skill. For your ranged attacks, you can rapidly fire projectiles as well as perform a charge attack. I never quite figured out how the charge attack worked, but it is indeed there. There is an indication that you will get other types of ranged weapons, however in the demo, I didn't have access to any, nor could I find any in the world. There's also a counter or parry mechanic that's very hard to use. It works similar to the parry system in Street Fighter Third Strike, in which if you press forward at the right time, you can counter an enemy's attack and not take damage. I found this really difficult to use and almost not worth doing unless you're trying to style on them or something, style on the enemies. Stage layout is fairly basic. You're moving from left to right, defeating enemies as you go. They're your standard pitfalls and falling platforms, as well as boxes to destroy to get up platforms. Where it does differ from other platformers is there are enemies in the background, so there are kind of 2 planes. So in order to defeat those enemies, you'll need to use a target button and fire at them. You can only fire while standing still, which is quite annoying, and you cannot move the reticle. Instead, you have to deselect, go to your target, reselect, and then stand there and start firing again. Also, you cannot target the enemy specifically, but have to target either where they are or where they'll be going. This can be quite frustrating if the enemy is constantly moving, and you have to wait for them to come back to the spot you're at and that you have targeted in order to try to shoot at them again. Hopefully they alter it so that you can target an individual enemy instead of simply targeting an area. Overall, this is an interesting, if not sometimes annoying mechanic that will help set the game apart. One of the major issues I have with the game is some of the enemy placements. There was one enemy that kept killing me, like I died 4 to 5 times from this one enemy while I was attempting to jump from one platform to another. It would wait until I was mid-air and then run into me, knocking me off and killing me instantly in the pitfall. There was little or no way I could find to effectively dodge, and I had to simply take the hit and hope I didn't fall or get caught mid-air. There was also a mortar enemy that I couldn't see below me that hit me a few times before I landed. Small things like this, well, one small thing, one major thing, made it feel like the game was punishing me for moving quickly or not being super careful. Overall, the demo is enjoyable and it's loads of fun. Being able to create your own combos to deal with bosses and enemies in a platforming game is pretty unique as well as refreshing, and with a bit of polish, this could be an interesting and fun platformer to play through. I would recommend playing this yourself and seeing if it's something you'd be interested in. With that being said, let me know what you guys think about in the comment section down below. Do you like the game? Do you like the mechanics you've seen? What are your thoughts on the game? And don't forget, if you like weekly reviews and daily Let's Plays, consider striking that subscribe button. This is Mattmade, and I will see you guys next time.